Today's January 6th. The time is about 9:11 a.m. Today's Wednesday. This is Lieutenant Hernandez. I'm in a conference room at the Katy Police Department speaking with David Brown, who is the Animal Control Supervisor, in reference to some allegations that a part-time employee is making against David and Spencer Antonoro. And it's in reference to some illegal dumping, euthanizing animals, and not documenting properly. So we're going to talk about this a little bit and understand where we go from here. But before I do anything, I'm going to read you the order. Not to engage in discussion or communications regarding ongoing internal affair investigations. Effective immediately, you are hereby ordered not to engage in any unauthorized conversations about and or relating to the aforementioned IAD investigation with anyone other than the authorized representative of the Katy Police Department Internal Affairs Division. Furthermore, if you're approached or questioned by anyone regarding the investigation or the information you provided, the IAD, you are hereby ordered to contact the below named IAD investigator immediately in order to identify the persons making inquiries. Your compliance with this order is paramount to the accurate reporting and timely completion of the investigation being conducted. You're further cautioned that your failure to comply with this order could be grounds for immediate discipline action up to and including termination of your employment with the Katy Police Department. Do you understand that?
Yes.
It's pretty much the same, don't talk anything. Just need to sign this one. Yes, sir, copy. Six.
One.
Yeah, sounds like that. That's the hard thing, used to writing down 21. David, this here is what I've retained from Chelsea. It's a list of different things. And what I'm doing is giving you a copy of that. That's acting as her complaint. She's done the same thing. She's filled out this form or signed a form about not discussing with anything. And that's until this is all clear and done. What I'm doing is giving you a copy of that so you can read it at your leisure or whatever. You know, I'll give you, today's Wednesday. Probably about Monday to respond to it.
Why don't we go through it on that one?
We can probably go through it right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be something I'm going to probably get a statement from you as well.
Okay.
So, if you want to go through it, we can. So when I was talking to her, her, just a quick snippet, her deal was kennel logs, no documentation on animals. Animals that left outside, animals not being tended to, cared for, they're dirty, animals not being fed or watered, vehicles left on. I know she did provide me with a video or a thumb drive with several videos with her recording with her and Spencer driving around and her, I guess, trying to bait him to see what was done. There are some videos that she's at the shelter herself, and you're more than welcome to look at the video. Of course, this is, I'm going to give you everything I have so you can understand what her allegation.
Can we look at it?
Sure. And it's just the.
Well, I know Michelle's not available. She had to work night shift.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking that I've done it on the CD. She talked about dumping on property, stuff like that. Just we're just trying to put a note up there, do not turn on. Hey Charles, I'm doing an IA interview with David in our conference room. And is there a way for me to plug up a USB drive to watch a video on this TV back here? Plug it into the computer? I'm talking about our conference room. There's two, there's two USB on the front that has one plug for like a, I guess like a computer, I guess, and the other one has a mouse. Is there another USB in the back or something? Yeah. On the TV? You have a few minutes to look at this? Yeah, all right. I'll try to look at it. If I can do it, fine. If not, just come knock on the door. All right, bye.
This is just rambling from somebody that is not trained and doesn't know what she's talking about.
And that might be the case here. I don't know anything about animal control. We don't have any policy on it. I've asked,
I get so bored of reading bullshit that I can go on, but it doesn't make any sense to read this. This is pretty much crap.
I know there were some videos.
I guarantee you though, if you look at any of this stuff, all this is after June. All this allegations.
Why after June? Is it what you?
I don't know if that's what you got or not.
This one, Chief gave me this.
All right. These are all animal control records, and records are placed in different locations. There's kennel cards, there's incidents, and I have this log. The reason I have this log is for open records request. We needed to create something where the newspaper, news media, and stuff can get our information, since we have to release all our records because we're public information. So there's all through here, maybe a typo or something, but these all concur with kennel cards. These are all stapled from the same date. So here is 2018. We can't go anywhere prior to 2018.
Right, so my supervisor got these, mom, cat, and full of kittens in yesterday, and he decided to put them outside in a bird cage, because the kittens are older, and he doesn't want to clean up the mess that they will make inside. Problem is, it's 100 degrees out here, and I've got literally the mom cat is panting, all of the babies are panting. I put bags of ice in here for them to lay on to cool them off. But it's just outrageous that somebody who is supposed to be supervising and making the right decisions is literally not doing that. This is what they're having to deal with.
That's
When was that?
12/14, I believe, or today was.
It's Sunday, June 14th.
June.
I got here this morning, and this cat is dead. No reason for it to be dead. It was pretty, somewhat healthy. It's like hard as a rock. When I was here last night for a call, the cat was not dead. So sometime between last night syringes out in the back. And then it was just left here in its crate all night. I just got off the phone with David Brown. It's Sunday, June 14th, and I asked him about this black
How
cat.
come that says December?
Came in
Like,
this morning.
I don't know if probably when she put it on, you took Brian, I guess, I don't know.
He mentioned that he was in last night and tried to pet the cat, and he went ahead and euthanized it, and here is the stick. He left a syringe out with medication in it that can kill somebody. It's just out here. And a dead cat in the kennel. It's dead. It is Sunday, July 26th. These kittens were returned to us on full cap for a little bit of raiment, and Cap provided us with some bids for both kittens. There are two kittens, one they named
You look and see when this
Blueberry
is
and one
dated?
they named
Oh, it might be
Strawberry.
on the deal.
These kittens have received none of these mitts. None.
Well, she said at the beginning, Lisa.
I don't want to listen to her anymore. That's a bunch of
It
crap.
is Sunday, July 26th.
126.
July 26th. So she thought there was a problem back in July, and it wasn't brought to anybody's attention. If there is a problem, the cat's probably hadn't been medicated yet.
And Cap provided us with some bids for both kittens. There are two kittens, one they named Blueberry and one they named Strawberry.
You
These
can turn
kittens
this
have
off. It's just
received
aggravating.
none of these mitts.
It's like it's a documentary.
Yeah, and it goes, I mean, as you can see on here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's several videos on here, and like I said, there's some with her riding with Spencer.
And she all saved it up for when I was out of town on vacation, which was December 14th was my birthday. So I had gone on vacation. So she had planned all this. And right before she had left, we were talking about my retirement, stuff like that I was going to be retiring this year. So because I'm not retiring quick enough, this is why she's gone after this.
Yeah, I don't know, like I said, this is all new to me, because it's like, I don't know y'all's procedures, y'all's protocols, or anything like that. There are some videos where I think it shows her walking through the shelter. There's either animals that doesn't have cards, because, I think there's cards I put on the gate door or something like that.
Yeah. Or they're on the door. They're somewhere in the building.
Yeah, so, she made reference to that. Her deal was, y'all buried animals on y'all's property because of cost. You contacted somebody from Texas Pride about coordinating to dump animals in the dumpsters. It talked about, it showed them a video where her and Spencer met up with the driver, asked him where he was going next.
See, and a lot of that's true. There's some truth into her stuff. But she has never been present when anything has ever been buried at the shelter. And you can look into some of these logs showing dispositions where animals are buried at the shelter. They're in the disposition. But here's the logs. All right, so you probably got the same ones. This is when COVID, we started giving warnings on COVID. And we're now in 2020. That's 2020 right there. Okay, so start giving warnings here in COVID. All right, now go through here, turn the page, and then I noticed there's something wrong with the record, and that was May, and that's airlines where Chelsea lives. I noticed that there's something wrong with the card. Then flick the page. Then I noticed all of a sudden in June all kinds of discrepancies, and I have files here on these discrepancies. Then things start getting back a little bit, back to normal a little bit, but there's still a few more record problems in here.
You said discrepancies, what kind of discrepancies?
Well, Lee, I have all kinds of files. Every one of them is different. And it takes so long to dig through and see what happened and how this stuff happened. Okay, let's see if we can find an example over on
So help me understand. So when you get a call to pick up an animal or something, depending on if it's a live animal, a fowl, or whatever, and I don't even know the difference between a fowl or whatever, maybe a cat's a cat or whatever. But you pick up, like say, a loose dog on Magnolia. You go to Magnolia, pick up the dog, y'all take it down to the station. What's y'all's procedure once y'all get that animal? It's like a 72-hour wait because
that's what the ordinance. That's what the ordinance says. All dogs and cats will be held for 72 hours. Dogs are easier. Feral cats are wild. They cannot be. Our facility cannot hold a feral cat, a wild cat, for 72 hours. I have never had a citizen call and try to claim a feral cat. That's never happened. So feral cats are sometimes put outside trying to be evaluated in a pen to evaluate them, or they're euthanized immediately. There's different types of way that they're euthanized, but pictures are taken and everything is documented. We're trained enough. We have enough experience in animal control. We know the difference between feral and scared. Sometimes cats can be extremely scared just because it's in a trap,
right.
So it's placed in the back. Now, since Ms. Gerber started, more cats have gotten away from her in that building because they're feral. That particular black cat that she was showing there that was fine, that was a feral cat. I was not on duty that day, but when I got there, I realized we had a feral cat in the building. A feral cat in that building can get up into those rafters and they pee and poop and cause all kinds of havoc. So I kind of remember vaguely, I'd have to go back and look at the kennel cards, but I do remember going up there and quickly euthanizing that cat and writing it down on the kennel card and then finish the paperwork when I came back in. She likes cats, and she's had a bad time with us dealing with the feral cat. She felt like every cat should go into the shelter, only because it's in ordinance that says we will hold dogs and cats for 3 days. Not a feral cat. Those are somebody's pets. So what happens with a domestic animal, we take a picture of it, we fill out a kennel card. Do you have copies of kennel cards here? You can pull any of the kennel cards. Some from 2018. That's all the kennel cards from 2018.
So all that's in here, right?
Yes, yes, they're all in there. We fill them out. And then 2018, we probably just didn't take all the pictures. 20 would take all the pictures. But you fill out as much information with them. The date that they came in, what kind of animal it was, if it was scanned for a microchip, where it was picked up, and the incident number. 99.9% of these all have incident numbers. There's a few times New World's down and one doesn't get in, or you get so busy. You can see how fast we write things in because we're always so busy going on to the next one. But the final disposition is filled in and the date of the final disposition. RTO means release to owner. This gives the date. So what this was a Great Dane that was picked up at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was me and Kelly Bean was working. She's 204. Kelly and I picked it up, and then it was released back to its owner that very same day. We fill them out. We put them on our website. This picture taken and put on our website, and they're posted. Under normal circumstances, that's how it works most of the time. But there's always some fluke, some reason things just don't work out. A dog comes in, it's got a broken leg. If we have a tag on it, we can take it to Dr. Hicks and have him look, but if we don't have a tag or owner, if the dog is in pain, we're not going to lift it up on that euthanasia table. It's going to be calmly euthanized in its pen. The cat, a feral cat in a pen must be euthanized in that pen. Now, euthanasia means good death, so it's going to be as quiet as can be. The best thing on a feral cat in that video circumstances would have been euthanized in there. I was not on duty. It was late at night. Turn out the lights, let it be calm, and pass away in the night. The next morning, get it taken care of. If Chelsea would have been working next morning, which it looked like it would have been, and she did say that she had called me and I talked to her, she should have wrapped it up and taken care of her stuff. When two people are on, two people have to work together. You get busy. One has to help the other one with kennel cards, take pictures, put on the website. When you don't have one doing that, you don't realize it, because Spencer and I work together so well. Kelly Bean worked so well. All our past employees all worked together so well. We all worked in unison. We didn't have to go, oh, by the way, did you fill out that kennel card? Oh, by the way, because you're with us. You're with us and you know it needs to be done. So if you look here, all of a sudden the ball started getting dropped in June because, and I am guessing all this took place because of a political sign in her yard, and I went to HR to find out, because old school Katy, old school, you should not have a political card, a political sign with a marked city vehicle. I found out, I talked to them about that, and they said that is correct. We'll try to find the policy. Now, we never did find any policy, but that's old school. This is when everything started. This is when the hatred towards the department trying to dig. And if you take 6 months like she did, and you're digging for little nitpicking things, we have records, but I can't remember everything that's going on. We have the records. So she's been digging all this time. So let me show you. These are very difficult because I found discrepancies, but there's a discrepancy in every one of those, but I'll show you an example.
Was a discrepancy meaning that it was one of your cases, your incidents, and stuff is missing, or?
Stuff is missing. Something is wrong. But every one of them is very slick. I gave statistics to City Council and Chief from my printouts. I fill out this paperwork and I do these printouts. So I gave statistics and I do my monthly report with statistics. Somehow or another, files are gone, missing out of here. I would have never thought back to go and check every single one of these manually. Things disappear. April is missing. April was entered. I entered April. I didn't have to worry about that. I was way back in April. It's been entered. The files are filed. Then I thought, I need to go back and go through these old cards. Everything's fine on the records, but just make sure everything's right. Then I started finding 2020 cards filed in 2018. And some of them were euthanasia cards. Things are just all of a sudden getting misfiled, and it's because we're not, all of a sudden we don't have the teamwork and the working together of these things. You know, they're getting misfiled, things are wrong.
And what the meaning of like teamwork is, like, if you're doing something, your partner is picking up the slack where I mean, like, if you're euthanizing, as the other person is knowing that they need to do a card, they need a document, and that's what you're talking about, working
Make sure
together.
it all comes together.
It's not just the person.
Not just one person. When one person is on duty, or if there is an issue if it's starting to rain, somebody's gone, and then the cat's outside, even if it's feral, somebody needs to go on duty that's working and sees the problem and take a tarp and put a tarp over to prevent the rain, even though they usually have carriers in there. But we are all so short-handed, and we all have to work together. There's one specific one. I mean, all these have problems. There's one specific one I wanted?
You know, I know one of her concerns was again, and it could be lack of experience, I don't know, but her deal is which made, the remark she made was, you know, they're fast to put these cats down. You know, again, I don't know
Yes.
anything about animal control.
Feral cats must be put down, yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna, people are gonna get hurt. The other day when I was working with her, a cat bit through my finger. All right, now, Chelsea has to be more careful than we do. Because of her handicap, it does hinder her job a little bit. I had realized that she was picking up a cage wrong, and I had stopped her immediately and said, no, let me. The second I did it, I did exactly what she was doing, knowing at the split second that's not the way to do it. Cat bit right through my finger. If that would have been her, it would have been a whole lot worse, because I've had all my tetanus shot, I've had my rabies vaccine. It's so much stuff that I've done, and I'm trained to do it. She is not properly trained. We have attempted to send her to school twice. And the city cut 2 checks. The first time we attempted, her daughter was sick and she couldn't go. Well, that was okay because we were able to reschedule. Once another school came available, we cut a check again, and then because of COVID-19, the school had been canceled. This girl is jumping into euthanasia stuff and proper procedures and stuff that she knows nothing about because she's not trained. She's not trained how to evaluate a feral cat because she's not certified to do the euthanasia stuff anyway.
How long has she been working with you?
1.5 years.
At any time, has she ever questioned you about anything about the procedures or why do we do this, why do we do that?
And while she was in training, she asked questions about how we do things, but not lately.
What,
I can't even think of an example, because when you're training someone, they always have questions.
Right.
How do you do this? Why do you do this? And how do you do this? So there's always, when she was going through training, she was going through training normally. The issue with her, the problem, Chelsea's job is not supervised. She works part-time, and her main job is to clean up after the animals, work on the weekends, make sure the restrooms and everything's clean. Even though she's never changed the toilet paper rolls, she's never changed paper towel rolls. And in the job description, assist with yard maintenance. That's another thing that she's never even assisted or done anything with. But even if you have somebody working with you part-time, if you're you need help, getting the animals tended to and cleaned up is very important, because every morning it's a mess. They're tended to in the evenings. Cats, you can tend to them 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, and it's a total mess. So you have to have people cleaning up. So then mainly that's what she's doing. She was clean up. But she was also knew when she applied this job it's going to be very little supervision, because I cannot be there on the weekends to monitor all the time. So she's by herself. I find out that she's been digging through stuff more lately in the last 6 months than actually doing the job she needs to be doing. She would work 4 hours in the mornings on Fridays. That is so we can brief her of what happened during the week. Only 4 hours. She got off at noon. Then she would work the weekends. Then she would come in on Mondays, work 4 hours, and brief us on what she did over the weekend, if there was any pending calls holding. It's the only way we can judge, or the only way we could do it, because we only had 2 full-time and 1 part-time. I have a lot of years in with Katy, so I have a lot of vacation time. Spencer's got 10 years in, so he's got a lot of vacation time. So we have to have help. So during the vacation time, she would come in and do ride-alongs and stuff like that. But many times I've insisted on her not to run calls because she is not certified. And frankly, when she'd run a call, she'd end up messing it up. But
So that was going to be another question. So on the weekends, did she answer calls?
phone calls. She wasn't supposed to go out and run any dangerous calls or so.
Did she ask you?
She has. Even with my saying no, she'll say, it's just to go pick up a dog. It's really easy. It's an easy call. And then she'd run, there are very few, but she would run just a few when we were just, what can, you know, if I'm out of town and Spencer's tied up doing something, and it's like, it can wait, but she would go and do some
Was
things.
there any conversations y'all had about, hey, I told you not to do this, this is not?
I'm an easy supervisor. I don't do stuff like that because I don't want to make somebody aggravated. You know, I try not to aggravate anybody and keep it going with the flow. So the first time she's like my niece, get all mad if you say no. First time I've ever said no to her was taking the truck and giving her a choice. Look, it does not look good. You've got a city sign and a marked city vehicle. Either way, but once the city sign's out of your yard or the election's over, you can have your truck back. And she had, and I got it, how she got that stuff off my computer, I'll never know. I noticed that she did not go and get the file out of my desk because it was still sealed when I wrote the letter. I had to write myself notes because I'll forget. So I had to write myself notes exactly who I talked to and what I did and what policies and procedures I followed. And then I put it in a sealed envelope. And she, somewhere down the line, I'd heard that she was mad that I took pictures of her residence. I'm going to get sidetracked here, so I'm going to show you. This is one of the discrepancies. So because I've got, these discrepancies are kind of hard to figure out how things got messed up. Notice on all these other years, it was smooth.
Right.
This is all messed up stuff that's hard to find. It was very, very hard to find. So I'll jump on that when I go to, okay, so here's the letter and my notes. It has not been opened since, unless she dig through here like through here. But this has not been opened, and this is sealed in my desk. This is all the information regarding the vehicle, and maybe some information regarding the school. Just some notes that I'd taken. But even though as slick as I was to make myself notes and stuff, it's all on the dang computer. You know, the pictures and stuff are all on the computer. All right, so that is a kennel card in June in the front, right? Right there, that's a kennel card. All right, so here, this is not in my handwriting. This is not my writing. This is Chelsea's writing. All right. I don't know what happened in my kennel card, but anyway. Here is my incident. This is when I went on the call. It was on 6/11 of 12. I mean, 6/11 of 20 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, so the procedures are to take pictures, make out a kennel card, and post it. All right, and then put those on the website. Then I find
Was she
this.
with you? Well,
No, she wasn't even working that day.
yeah, you know, you told me when anytime somebody's with you, you don't put their name, their number on here.
You tried to, yeah, you tried to. But when you're super, super busy, you may not think, but when you're doing the kennel card, but you tried to.
So, 6/12, let's see if that would have been a, right, is that okay? Would have been on a Sunday. That's July, I'm sorry. 6/12 on a Friday. And this was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
But see, that's dated the day before,
On 11.
the 11th. So that would have been on a Thursday. So I would have filled out my kennel card when I got the cats in on the 11th. That's when my kennel card would have been filled out.
Okay.
Now, if she wouldn't help with kennel, is she trying to be helpful for me? Is she trying to be helpful? To me, that doesn't look like that was being helpful, because I can't say that I did not fill out a kennel card, but I always fill out kennel cards. I would have known about it the next morning if it wasn't filled out, and I sure wouldn't have said, oh, Chelsea, I ran this call yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to fill out these kennel cards. Would you fill this out for me? I wouldn't have done that. But do notice how that kennel card is filled out. That is one card filled out for 5 cats. That is common. That's what we do instead of filling out 5 different kennel cards.
Right.
So it is common that you will see one kennel card on there for a dozen cats. You know, one kennel card can be sticking up there, so I don't have 5 kennel cards. You can keep that.
Actually, I know there's one video, I wanna say, that I saw, and it could be pertaining probably to this, because it talked about, there's no card and there's more than one cat here or something, blah, blah, blah. I'm not for certain, but I'm just a little note. So you said I can keep this then?
Yeah.
I'll just note.
You know, I don't want to think evil for anybody and would never think anybody's doing anything. But Lee, when I look at those records, I start seeing a pattern starting in June of 2020. And it's where everything starts falling apart. And that's about when I had the conversation with the truck. So all this stuff that you're going to see, all these videos and stuff, I guarantee you it's going to be,
Some type of retaliation type deal.
and it's going to start approximately that date. You won't see anything prior to that date because starting in June is when we started having issues.
And my understanding, Chief had told me that somebody from Precinct 1 Harris County,
Katy,
Katy,
she came in.
came in, do you have her information or anything? Came in and checked your records, checked your log, checked every documentation, all that stuff.
No, she didn't check any records. She just asked our procedures and walked through the building and looked at our kennels and asked us some questions. Her cell phone's on the back.
Okay.
She asked me.
Just to make sure you all are doing things in compliance.
Yes, and she asked if Spencer and I were certified for euthanasia. And I have our certificates if you'd like to see those. We were recertified on February of 2020. We were actually able to take online courses.
Do you remember what day she came out?
No, I don't remember. It was, I was on vacation, we were trying to figure it out. I was on vacation on December 14th, and I was going to be off all that week. All hell broke loose that Thursday, so 14th,
What do you mean,
15th.
help loose?
Chief had called and needed to talk to me about all this stuff. He wanted me to come in and talk to him because Chelsea had reported something Spencer had said. So that would have been on a Thursday. So I came in, but I was leaving town, so that would have been 13, 14, 15, 16. So, is that correct? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
14th December.
Okay, yeah, 14. All right, so I was on vacation. I came in Thursday on 17th because I had to give blood anyway. And then I left town again. So it probably would have been on December the 21st or the 22nd because Chief was really fast on it.
Were you present when she was
Yeah,
there?
yeah. She asked a bunch of questions, gave her a tour.
Is that the first time somebody's had to come in and check the facility or?
No, we're state licensed, so we have a veterinarian that we hire, and we do a different one. Last year, I used Katy Vet. They charge us $175. They come into the building, ask us questions, go through our records, look at our logs, walk through, and then they sign off on the shelter. Then I get a surprise inspection from the state. And then the surprise inspector does the same thing, goes through all records, personnel, file, training, everything like that, goes through the building. They do this every year. And then they sign off. Then it's sent to the regional vet's office, and then they give us our license of approval. So we have 2 people every year come in and inspect. Then we get our license for approval, and then our license is posted on the wall at the shelter, and that's how we become a state certified facility.
It's almost like our juvenile room, somebody needs to come out here to look at it and certify it or something more or less, you know. And it's the same thing with yours, they
Yeah,
can
it has
come
to be,
in and
yeah.
make sure it's compliant.
They want to make sure that chemicals are not stored above food. They want to make sure that there's no feces around, that the bowls are clean. Yeah, they do. They have a whole big checklist to go through.
And
they
part
go-
of your statement, I'm wondering what you to write that in, showing that, you know, once a year, the vet comes in and does a walkthrough, whatever, and then you get a visit by the state to make sure this facility is certified as a place where you're certified to hold animals and treat whatever. I mean, just something that's coming from me as far as, you know, it's going to be documented. It's going to be seem like it's going to be tedious, but you know, I'm giving you a copy of this deal here so you can kind of go through it or whatever, and it's just kind of, you know, pretty much going to be what we talk about, but it's going to be in your words, and then, you know, email it or yeah, we'll put a thumb drive or whatever, so I can put it on my documents, and you'll get a copy of it. It's just going to be like your statement, just answering, you know, I'm giving you the opportunity to answer to the complaint. That's part of what I do, just so it's fair. And like I said, I have no problem showing you video. Whatever evidence I got, I'm going to show you. I don't, there's no point. I'm not here to cut corners or pulling over or anything.
I know our jobs. I've been doing this long enough.
Yeah, so it's just answering. You know, if you want to number them or whatever, that's fine. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to talk to Richard, you know, pretty much the same thing. You know, just you know, like I said, she recorded him and he's telling her things and things like that. So it's just he needs to answer for himself as you know what he does and his procedures and things like that. I'm not trying to catch somebody in a lie or anything like that, because it's one of those things where I'm trying to understand where she's coming from.
I wish I could just give you everything that's in my head and let you just know everything that's
and that'd be good, because, you know, you know, some of these deals, she sent me documents where I printed out, like the Texas Administrative Code. I mean, I called our city, and, you know, I'm still waiting for Becky to get back with me, see what our city ordinances are. I don't know. I know Chelsea was big about, you know, we need to hold these animals for 72 hours, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know. You know, so she sends me stuff like, you know, stuff in the Texas Administrative Code, allowable methods of euthanizing animals in custody of animal shelter. I mean, just stuff like that. So she has a lot of documentation as far as from either from state or wherever she's getting this stuff from. You know, talks about procedures. Now, I can't answer or say I understand what the state requires, what the city requires, what the ordinances are, and what you're trained. I don't know. This is all I'm dumbfounded all this stuff. So I'm trying to learn a little bit of all this stuff, but and that's where you come into play.
Things are constantly changing.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Like rules and regulations are constantly changing. And I tell you, there's just not enough training that you can give anybody for every time a law or something has changed. You don't know. We've been burying animals at that shelter forever. Chelsea's never witnessed an animal buried out there. She don't know what's buried out there. But the city workers can tell you what's buried out there.
I mean, but yeah, and that's something that you know. I guess I read something where you're allowed to bury them after they've been euthanized. And
I have never ever been told that you cannot do that. The reason I use, but I do know that when you do from school that you have to use a Class A landfill. I don't even know what a Class A landfill is, but you have to use a Class A landfill.
Yeah,
I've never,
that's something she's mentioned in this thing as well.
so,
You know, she talked about, you know, like October 19th, you know, he asked her and Spencer to go scoop out dumpsters across the city to dispose of an animal who's been euthanized. It saved the city money. And then she said she questioned you about the legality of it, and you said you obtained permission from Texas Pride, and that after researching and disposing of euthanized animals in landfills requires advance permission from the landfill operator. Euthanized animals can contain sodium pentobarbital.
yeah, that's it.
And it must be properly disposed of. Without the landfill operator knowing which dumpsters the animals come from, the trucks are picking them up, how can they ensure that they're going to be probably, they're in the proper landfill and being monitored appropriately. And I guess it goes to taking steps to avoid secondary poisoning of wildlife. And most of Harris County landfills are type 4, dead animals require type 1 or 1AE. I don't know what that is. You know, like I said, it just goes on and on as far as like the burying. If she doesn't know anything about the burying.
No, see, she don't know. And she don't, and if the weather's permitted or whatever, we'll go dump dead animal, roadkill animals. Sometimes they have to end up in the freezer. Buckaloo's pet is buried out there. We stick them in the holes all the time. And dead animals, I got permission that we can throw them in the dumpster. She don't know what's in those bags. They did request us to double bag them, and what we do is mark them. We marked them with duct tape so we'll know. Now, because of some of these records getting mixed up from here in June, there's a great possibility that something with sodium pentobarbital got thrown in the dumpster got buried, but that's not a normal practice that we were doing. And my whole point was to clean out the freezers because I'm preparing for retiring in 2021. I want these animals disposed of. And you can tell, you just can't just go dump a 150-pound hog or 200-pound hog. Back in the day, you could just throw them in a field somewhere. Now, the reason we started using animal disposal is because after one of our, wasn't Hurricane Ike, but right after Hurricane Ike, we had a rain event, and it was a flood event. And all those nasty animals came back, everything that had been buried, because for years and years we've always had a big hole where every squirrel, every euthanized animal, everything had been thrown into that hole. And then after it starts to fill up, then dirt's packed on top of it. It was the nastiest thing in the world. After that rain event, stuff all came back up. And I said, that's it. We cannot do this anymore. And that's when we started using animal disposal. And we had used animal disposal, different animal disposals through the years. Cabashon we used was extremely expensive. And you know, it's not my money, but I want to save the city money. And I'm not going to hurt an animal to save money, but I want to save the city money. So we had to use Cabashon. Their trailer knocked out our gate. $3,000 worth of damage. At first, they were all willing to pay for it and everything else, but then when it came right down to it, they said, no, we're not responsible. We didn't do that. Well, I knew they did it. So then we hired Brown Transport. Cabashon, I never had to fill out a manifesto for Cabashon. Then I started using Brown Transport, and so we're using a different facility, which was the Akista, one in Humboldt, Akista, something like that, the landfill in Humboldt. We started using them. So I had to fill out a permit with that landfill about what was being transported there, that it wasn't, sodium pentobarbital was okay. I had to certify that other stuff was not being put in there, other chemicals and stuff was not being transported. Well, that was all fine and good, except he was so expensive. Even the freezer wasn't full, it's $500 a freezer. That's ridiculous. But you can't have those animals in there forever. And the dumpster thing, when you got somebody's pet that's died of natural causes, stuff, the dumpster thing is working. And I do have permission to do that. So, and the landfill's given us permission. So everything was working good with him. Then one day I get a phone call, and the landfill said, your permit's expired. We can no longer accept any of your animals. I said, well, I haven't had anybody bring anything. We haven't had a dumpster cleaned out or freezer cleaned out in 6 months. They said, well, he's here right now dropping off animals. Then I realized he was on the side, he was picking up animals from other agencies, but using our manifesto. So I said, that's it, he's fired. I didn't ever use him again. So we were in the process of trying to figure out a better way of getting rid of these dead animals. I made several phone calls. I'd asked the land dump if we could personal deliver them. If we could take them to you, put them in the truck and deliver them. They said yes. Going through the red tape of getting the paperwork, I never could get it from them. Then I contacted Forever Homes, Cremation, and Brookshire. Very, very nice lady. She said that it would be too expensive to run the incinerator. It's too expensive because she does individual pets. So having 5 or 6 would be way too expensive. Then I contacted a place in Waller. Waller said, oh yeah, you can use our we cremate horses, you can use ours. So they said, we will contact you when we're going, I think it was $30 an animal, is what she said. It was reasonable. She said, you can use ours, but what we'll have to do is once we get it heated and we euthanize a horse, we'll call you and then you can bring yours over and the thing's already hot. So I agreed. So Fred said, can ask them if we can do our narcotics and stuff and destroy it in there. I said, I'll ask. They didn't want nothing to do with that. Then they didn't want nothing to do with us either. They didn't want nothing. So that one got dropped right there. So we had quite a bit of things piling up in the shelter. So I had contacted Texas Pride to see what, I left out. I went to Hempstead. Made a trip to Hempstead, talked to City Hall, and said, what do y'all do with y'all's deceased animals? And they said, we take them to our dump. And I said, is it a class A dump? They said, we don't know, but that's where they go. And I said, can we use y'all's dump? We'll pay y'all if we can transfer our animals over here. And they said, well, we're a transfer facility. Why don't you ask your landfill? And I thought, that's a good idea. So I got with Teresa. She got the owner of Texas Pride, and I asked Texas Pride, and I said, we have these animals that are killed in the freezer, and then we also have some nasty ones, some diseased ones and stuff like that. Is it legal for us to throw in a dumpster? And then he said, let me check. And then he called me back and he said, I spoke with our landfill, and they said it is no different than any other dead things coming in. It's all diseased and maggot infested and anything else. He said, if you double bag them and they're frozen, and then you mark them, and we marked them. He didn't say we had to mark them, but we marked them in tape. So he said, yes, you can do it. Well, we started scouting out dumpsters, and the first one I was going to use was the sewer plant dumpster. So I went to Clint, asked him if we can use that, because we can notice that that's where all the condoms and all the nasty stuff goes in. So that's got to be biohazard anyway. It's nasty. They picked that up. Elaine didn't want to do it because she was concerned that if they didn't show up and the inspector came over there, they may find a dead animal in there, which made sense. So we started scouting out all dumpsters, and we could time exactly when these things are going to be picked up. So they didn't wait in there for a day or so and thaw. So we found the one at Woodlands Park. And we only experimented with just a few to see if it worked, and then it worked. And then I think we only did it twice. That's the only dumpster we ever used. Chelsea, I know she wasn't with me. She don't work enough, but I know she wasn't with me. But at this time, but I was reading in here that Spencer made a load or something. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I saw the video with him. You know, it's another allegation was, or another deal she mentioned was that they weren't properly being bagged. Instead of having a double bag, they weren't tagged, they weren't bagged right. And I know there's one video shows Spencer carrying a bag and the bag breaks open and he has to rebag the animal. And it could be because it wasn't double bagged. I don't know. But it did show, I mean, she did show one video with them, I think they're at the fire department asking the driver where is he going next. And that's how he was able to back pick up animals and take it there.
I don't know anything about that one, but I don't know anything about that. But I do know that Texas Pride did say if anything was euthanized dead from the freezer, it needed to be double bagged, but not necessarily the squirrels or anything like that. It was just anything coming from there. But that's not a habit that we wanted to make. It's nothing that we wanted to do. Just like I don't want, the only reason I bury animals at the shelter there is it's too muddy to get to some of the fields back there in the back to go dump them on the landfills. And we're running out of places to dump them.
Yeah, so in your statement, you know, I want you to write in there who you spoke to with Texas Pride.
I talked to the owner.
And is that the dumping facility or the trash pickup we're using now?
He owns the company.
Yeah, so
I spoke with the owner.
I would, you know, document that, just showing that you covering your bases as far as, you know, obviously she's making an allegation about this illegal dumping, but you've already got permission and consent and all this other stuff, and this is who you talk to, and, you know, who they're with and so forth. And, you know, everything you just told me, you contact the landfill, you know, next thing called you back and told you, yes, we can do that. So that way, you know, it doesn't show that you're trying to hide something. It's just, she doesn't know what she's talking about, because you've already taken care of all this stuff. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Just like she don't know what's in these holes.
Yeah.
She's never been present. She does not know what, she goes up there and sees that there's a fresh hole that's been dug. So she's just assuming that we're doing crap, but.
Was it y'all just get a backhoe?
No, I get to see do it. The workers, yeah, they do it for me. They dig the backhoe, and then sometimes they have to help me, because sometimes these animals are dumped way back in the back of the shelter, and they're just fixing to explode. So what they'll do is I'll tie a rope, and then they'll pull them on in and dump them in there. They've helped me for years, and I wouldn't even want to begin. One part of me wants to go and say, yeah, let's dig it up and show, but then there's the other part of me going, oh my God, it's a graveyard back there. It's just nasty.
So as long as she's been with y'all, there's been no burying of animals or carcasses?
She's never seen us bury anything. She's never been, because of her hours, we don't do it on the weekends. I mean, she is working in the mornings on Monday and Fridays. There's no reason that we would bury. And it only has to be during different conditions. Happens to be when we have a huge hog and we can't take it out, or a big deer or a big dog that's been splattered all over the freeway or something. There's even things listed in some of these things that show the animals were buried at the shelter. Owner was contacted, their dog was killed on the freeway, they didn't want it, so we buried it at the shelter.
So y'all currently still bury animals out there, okay?
Yeah, until somebody tells me I can't do it and it's illegal. But I do know that our water well is over by the cemetery, and they bury people over there all the time. They're not involved, and that's right next to a water well. So no one has said that I couldn't do it, and no one has ever said I couldn't bury the other animals deep. I've never seen it in writing but I don't want to.
So were you informed that you could do that by somebody? As far as
bury them?
Yeah.
No, it's always been like that ever since. It's one of those things that when you start with the city and they've always done it, that you've done it.
You just kind of thinking off where they left off.
Yeah, that's usually.
Yeah.
But then I changed it after the flood, and they come back up, because Roy had to, you always got to take what Roy would say with a grain of salt. But they've always done it. It's always, you know, with all the chiefs, they've all known that that's the way we disposed of them. And that's.
You have to answer. Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to answer. It's a rescue group, and he's driving me nuts. Candace. He wants me to take Candace dogs away from her because she's got too many. Candace.
Candace Shelter?
Yes. And I don't.
Is she still in the cuts? Or?
Yes, I saw her the other day, and I was going over to investigate that she had too many dogs, but she was busy in a car with somebody, and I decided I wasn't going to do it. So yeah, we just, and see, we're talking about administration code and how laws have changed and stuff. things are constantly changing, so you just there's no way to keep up with everything. If you had the staff, maybe, and then more stuff, fresh come in, but it's what we've always done, always buried it. And then so, I didn't want to bury anything with, I'd rather use animal disposal with the, with sodium pentobarbital, but I'm not going to stick a feral hog in the deep freeze and wait for animal disposal to come pick it up, you know, it's just easier to bury.
How often do you clean out your freezer or dispose of animals?
Oh, it can be months and months. I just started getting it all emptied out because I knew it was not going to fill out before I retired. All this is in preparation of me leaving and starting with a fresh start. It can be months and months before you get that much because it needs to be full. If we were going to pay for someone to come and pick up stuff, they're going to charge us the same amount either way. Since it was not a whole bunch of stuff in there, I was actually trying to find another way before we used animal disposal. So I was trying to save money and trying to do it the right way, not trying to hide anything.
Right.
But I also don't share everything that I find out and talk to with, Spencer probably doesn't know everybody that I talk to. If I run up to City Hall and talk to somebody, unless he's with me, I'm not going to think, you know, I talked to Texas Pride, the owner, and he called this and he called that, you know. I make myself notes and I move on.
Right.
And we're so damn busy in animal control, you know, trying to run an animal control department for a city our size, it's hard enough doing the administrative part and the animal control officer.
Welcome to CID. We got more patrol officers and a few CID guys, and the more work they're out to create, the more work that we have to try to pick up, so yeah.
And honestly, I do prefer the animal control part more than the complaints and paperwork, but I still have to keep paperwork in order.
Right.
It's my job to make sure that people are properly trained. And I'll tell you, Chelsea is not properly trained. So a lot of this crap she doesn't know anything about, and she sure makes it look bad on there. And it does look bad, but when you get somebody that's trying to dig things up for 6 months, and she's not going to show you any good stuff, she's only going to show you the bad stuff.
So you think all this had started all because of the political deal, which happened around June or July?
According to my records.
Yeah. And, yeah, so, you can put that in your statement as well.
Let's see what the date is here. I've sealed this and have not looked.
Does it look like it's been re-stapled?
No. No. That's timesheet discrepancy. Oh, because she showed, okay. This is timesheet discrepancy. Maybe this is not, maybe she did grab the other paper that I had bought. Well, I'll be darned. She did get, that other paper's missing. Okay, this is not what I thought it was. This is a timesheet discrepancy that she was shown on duty, but her van was parked at her house. So she did grab that stuff. I have a file missing that I'd taken, and this is how she would have gotten that. I was wondering how she got her hands on that.
This was kept in your desk?
Yeah, she got it from my desk. I never locked stuff because we never had to.
Right.
She did get that file. Okay, so let me look and see if it's in her personnel file. I doubt it. I know it's not in there. That's how she got it. I was wondering how she knew I took pictures in front of her house. I thought she had to get them off the computer, and I thought she's smarter than I am on that, because I wouldn't know how to do it. I do have another file missing. I don't know when the date was. HR would probably know when I called them. Maybe they'd have a record. I called and asked. But it was, all this, I would say all this started definitely. Now, of course,
That's 20 of 20, right? This past June?
yes, this past June. Hi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You need something?
Sure. There are a new Angie's incidents were around March. That's when all her stuff came out. But I know that stuff's crazy.
I am going out of town. It is Saturday, October 10th, 2020. I'm about to leave. It's 11:30 a.m. I do not have a truck here. David will be coming in at noon, and there are some pending calls that I just wanted to document. There's a possum in a trap on a lilac. That's not a big deal. We'll probably just go release that. We're not supposed to trap on the weekends, but that's okay. There was a call that came in from Randy Forney at Elmwood Trail in Cane Island. He has 5 kittens in his backyard. They were not in a trap. I'm just documenting this because I want to make sure that they actually get intake into the shelter and not just euthanized on the truck.
What she's doing is she's copying all that stuff on the
So
computer.
watch for an incident number on October 10th, 2020 at this address. And it will be 5 kittens in the backyard.
So you highlight them, Chief. Yeah, I think it's what she's doing.
I am going out of town. It is Saturday, October 10th, 2020. I'm about to leave. It's 11:30 a.m. I do not have a truck here. David will be coming in at noon, and there are some pending calls that I just wanted to document.
Can you go back up what the
they're
date
not
was?
in a trap.
10.
I'm just documenting this because I want to make sure that they actually get intake. There's a possum in a trap on the lilac. That's not a big
Oh,
deal.
that was just
Yeah,
recently.
she's here from that
I'm
12.
not supposed to trap either.
So what she's doing is she's copying this, but she wants to, when she gets back from her trip or wherever, from being off, she's gonna see what the dispositions were on this.
5 kittens backyard, they're not in a trap. I'm just documenting this because I
We
want to
run
make
so
sure
many
that they
calls, it's
actually get
difficult to
intake
remember.
into the shelter and not just euthanized in the trap. So, watch for an incident number on October 10th, 2020 at this address, and it will be 5 kittens in the backyard.
I have October 9th. Kitten has a kitten went to the door still. No, I don't see an incident.
I am going out of town. It is Saturday, October 10th, 2020. I'm about to leave. It's 11:30 p.m.
Oh, you're not
I
out.
do not have a truck
Kennel
here.
cards, I think.
David will be coming.
They haven't got euthanasia cards yet, so no intakes in that. The October the 9th, and then that was a shepherd that went to Home Again Rescue, and the next animal to come in was a cat on the 12th, and it was released to its owner on the 13th.
So, will this have been something either they go to or
Well, the only way to really check is AS 400 to see if there was an incident. If there's an incident, then I'm gone. If there's no incident, I might have called him and he said, never mind, I gave him to somebody. Or I might have not ever, I don't remember getting the call or whatever the case is. Look how many that we run, you know? And this was coming in on a Saturday. So, how did, I don't even know if I ever seen that piece of paper, you know?
Is that something that would be on y'all's computer?
She was real good. No, she was real good about briefing. She always left a piece of paper out on everything that was pending. She was really good about it.
In at noon, and there are some pending calls that I just wanted to document. There's a possum in a trap on the lilac. That's not a big deal. I'll probably just go release that. We're not supposed to trap on the weekends, but that's okay. There was a call that came in. David is writing a letter to Ashley Spencer from Night Transportation saying that we received a generous donation of 31 cases of canned pedigree dog food.
Why would you be looking,
I'm gonna go look in the back, but I am not seeing
Looking
any
at
of that here.
emails that you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Why would she be looking at emails that you're doing?
I don't know, she shouldn't be.
I wonder if there's some type of policy, well, I don't know, policy or anything.
And I am seeing absolutely no canned pedigree dog
Should have
food
drove the cat.
anywhere. That is the brand that the officers' dogs eat, so I don't know if it went home with them or what.
31 cases of dog food?
This is just stuff that I went through, and this is all this stuff she mentioned.
Yeah, that pedigree dog food's over. We still got it. It's over in the, call Spencer and have to take a picture and send it to you.
Okay.
where is it at, in Katy?
She was very sneaky when she did a report. I mean, felony down or something for it. I mean, the other one was like, I think in the center console, recording while talking to Spencer. Maybe Spencer just didn't think anything about it.
What?
I don't know.
No, I won't. No.
I don't even know what the conversation was about.
Something about her daughter, David and her daughter.
So, like I said, there's just multitudes of videos and stuff like that. But just, you know, you get a minute, just kind of over a course.
It's going to be difficult to try. There's just so much crap. There'll be retirement time before I get through with this. Oh, well, at least when I'm retired, I can spend all my time on it.
Well, I mean, the important thing is you just kind of go through. The important thing is, and a lot of it's on here is stuff that, you know, like the Treaty Act and all this other stuff. I mean, that's just stuff you get off the internet. But, you know, one, you contacted somebody from Texas Pride, the owner, who's contacted landfill. And if you know which landfill, that's even better. You're given the okay to do that, what your requirements were to do that. You know, she has just certain dates on here.
So what I need to do is I just go through all these one by one and just add a little bit of a statement on each one of them.
Yeah.
And if I just don't know what the heck she's talking about on it, then just say, I don't know. I don't know.
That's it. And if you want to number them, like incident 1, incident 2, different dates. Hold on a second. Yeah, are you you're going to use, let me pull this thing out real quick.
How you feeling, Julius? Oh, I'm doing good.
You can come over here and see your report. Person entering the room is Julius Belton. He's going to be using the pill band system, which is the monitor that we're reviewing videos on. Yeah, so if you go through this, David, and like it has like one, just how, dumping of animals, and everything you did for, getting approval for dumping of animals. Down here.
Can I just do it short and sweet where it's not like 3 or 4 pages?
Yeah, just, and then like here, number 2, you're entering that, talking about burying euthanized animal on city property. Obviously she doesn't, the only knowledge she has is, what was told to her, right? I'm sure that's how she knows there's animals buried on the property, is because
I don't, well, maybe, but I mean, it's obvious, you can see something buried.
So, number 2, this has been a process before your time or whatever, how previous humane officers conducted or buried animals on property.
Yeah, this isn't hard as something.
Yeah, no, a lot of just, she has on here like the statutes or whatever. Like I said, just when you go number them, just like short synopsis, and then there's certain things on here that just pretty much talks about. There ought to be 2 people involved and 2 trained people when they euthanize or sedate an animal or whatever. I mean, that's just stuff, verbiage she's got from somebody. Just procedure. So she's adding a lot of other stuff in here. And then it just kind of go through it, and then when you're done with it, we'll get back together. Just you can put it on a zip drive,
okay,
and we'll get it and come back and see if you have to add anything or whatever.
Okay.
Just so you say, it does look like it's time consuming.
Yeah, but it's not as bad, and it's such ridiculous stuff in here anyway that I'll just do it.
She talked, if there's not a number, just put the date she referred to. Sunday, March 1st, she talked about y'all going to the road and picking up 2 dogs. That Angie about that another residence or whatever. I mean, this is just, that way, when I talked to her and said, look, we went through this bit by bit, and this is what we're discovering. Okay. And like a lot of these were just dates, and then number 6, proper record handling. I mean, just whatever you know, and we just kind of go from there. So, I'll say from Monday. I know you're busy and I'm busy. So Monday will be the 11th. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll tell you what, I'll give you the 13th. That's the following Wednesday.
Okay.
And the thing is, I'm going to be talking to Spencer and tell him the same thing. I know it's kind of hard not to talk to him because he's going to ask you questions. Well, I don't remember here, David, what do we do, blah, blah, blah. And it's one of those things where nobody outside me and you, Chief, knows there's an investigation going on. Okay, and it's not my job to go say, oh yeah, I'm working the eye on Dan, or yeah, Chelsea's complaining about this or that. I'm not in a position to divulge that information to anybody. So what happens here stays here. And the same thing when I talk to Spencer, I'm gonna give him the same thing. Say, hey, read this thing, and just write me up something. From his point of view, not. Or David told me this, or David told me that, or I don't want it to be like hearsay. 1, but 2, I don't want Spencer to. It's kind of one of those hard deals because y'all work together. It's kind of.
Yeah.
There might be things you put that he's missing, and there might be things he puts that you're missing. So,
since there's only 2 of us, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that's kind of, I'm not looking to try to entrap somebody, just whatever he can remember about any of these things.
Breathing all that sewer gas down there makes you kind of hard to remember anything. That's why I have to write everything down.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's going to be the important thing when you're here, or if you're here or you're not here, is whoever takes over It's making sure every incident is documented, making sure there's a picture. Because, you know, sometimes, you know, I've dealt with DAs before, and when I do a probable cause statement, I'm like 2-3 pages into it, and some DAs will say, hey, well, I've had one tell me, hey, have you ever heard of the KISS method? Meaning, keep it simple, stupid. Because I'm very detailed. That's how Brooks made me. I'm very detailed. I said, I'd rather y'all take out what you don't need than for me to be here and you want me to add more to this, the PC. And I've had another DA say, man, with your PC, I can't see this person do anything but plead out because you're very detailed. And I kid you not, David, going on 30 years in this job, I've gone to court to testify probably less than 5 times, and most of that time was probably in Waller County for DWI or something like that, because I'm just detailed with my stuff. Sometimes more information is helpful than, you know, than not having enough, because then you're in that position where I can't remember what happened. Just document, and documentation is it doesn't cost but a little time to put in the computer or whatever. Like I said, whoever does it after you, you get an animal, write it down. It's like a report call for us. Anytime we do, we got to document somehow. If it's a narrative, if it's a report or whatever, it's just going to be your person's going to have to be sure that CY, in case you get audited or in case you get inspected or whatever, and hopefully the person knows that's what they need to do, is to be sure you're on the up and up and everything. And I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, because I don't know what you're doing, and it's not, I mean, you have your way of doing things. I trust you completely because you've been doing this for a long time, but whoever's doing this after you, just be sure. I guess I don't know how if it's too late to even try to do some type of guidelines on how, or the protocol on how to do things.
Oh, I've been working.
If you leave and Spencer leaves, the next person comes in, or it's going to be having to start all over. It's like a new chief starting here with nobody here.
No, I'd be retired, but I'd be volunteered in there to help any way I can.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave the city in any jail.
And that's just it. You know, so many people here that you know, like you and I had this conversation. You know, and put in your statement if you want. You know, you've had information that's showing up missing. You know, you had 2 envelopes that are missing. And the only people who have access to your office is Chelsea and Spencer.
Yeah.
You know, what benefit does Spencer has taking your documents?
But you know, I do hope you are able to, well, I don't know if you're able to, but it'd be nice if you could reach out to my former employees like Kelly or Leanne that never had, you know, that since left, and know exactly how we do things. And Kelly was with me for 12 years. So.
What's the other girl's name? Leanne?
Leanne. She used to be a dispatcher.
Yeah, Hispanic. You remember her last name?
Flores. She's in the local system.
Okay. How long will she work with you?
Not very long.
They're both part-time, right?
Yeah, part-time.
Yeah.
But then, if you go to Leanne and you go to Kelly, you're looking at 15 years of past coworkers and seeing how we do things.
And we've never, and being here 22.5 years, I've never once am aware of any type of incident, of any wrongdoing or anything at animal control.
Never had any problems with records until June.
Yeah. So, and it might be, I don't know. I don't know what would the answer on if it's. And I know it's almost one of those things you need a secretary to do this, the input of all this, the database. You know, when you get a card, scan it in. That way, it's in the system already. Yeah. Versus having the paper trail. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a paper trail, but you're trying to cut down on paper and everything else. Because we do a lot of stuff where we get stuff we scan to the computer, and it's never going anywhere.
Animal control needs more help, that's for sure. But where do you draw the line? Do you get the secretary? You get you another officer, and you could just have somebody just answering phones.
Well,
that's
I mean, if you got somebody that it's like a secretary to do the data input, but then on the weekends clean stalls or you know during her part. I mean, it's not going to be every day that you're 8 hours a day entering data, is there?
No.
So the other time you can be.
You get it entered and done as quickly as possible, and you're out running the next calls.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, but I'm saying it'd be something that a secretary or somebody could do, or a part-timer could do. But
they get too bored. I've asked the weekend help to work on that instead of digging through files and trying to find stuff. Make a spreadsheet, do this, but it doesn't get done. And if you're not standing over somebody, it doesn't get done. It's just like you go into the restroom and the toilet paper needs some changing. You had somebody work there all weekend that used it, but
Same thing here with the copy machines, you know, people run the copy machines and they run out of paper. They won't put
they
that-
get
they'll wait-
another copier.
Yeah, they'll wait for somebody else to go out. It's like, come on, the paper's right next to you, you can put it in, you know.
You can spend all your time on top of somebody, and then all you can do, especially with those younger ones, just make them.
Yeah. So, yeah, whenever, I said, just get back with me next week. Is Spencer working today, or is he
Yeah,
off?
he's working. He's out there running calls.
You know, just have him give me a call later on. It's probably gonna be lunchtime, so it'll be one of the things, or I can reach out to him after lunch. Just tell him to call me, reach out to me by 1 o'clock, and I'll see where I'm at. And, I don't think his conversation is gonna be as long as yours. I mean, you're a supervisor, you have documentation to back you up on everything, so,
If you have time, he'd rather get it over with. He's scared to death.
give me 1 second. Hey, Mr. Bill, can I call you back in like 5 minutes? Yeah. Let me call you right back. All right, bye-bye. That's fine. Well, it's 10:48, we'll probably go on lunch. If I get back early, I'll give him a call. I don't want any of y'all stressed out. It's easier said than done. It's easier said, and when Chief was telling me yesterday, or that, I think it was one of the detectives that said, yeah, David's retired. I'm like, what? I'm thinking you're retiring over this, and that's news to me that you're retiring, well, congratulations. I know you've been doing this for a long time.
It's been a long time. I started in Waller County, I was 18 years old. The whole point of doing this is to retire early. And I'll be 57 when I retire, so it's like, you need to get it, you have to pick a number. You've got to, and you've got to leave at that point, or you'll find yourself keep on and keep on and keep on. And be like Dr. Bing, as soon as he retires, then what happens to him?
Well, that's always a scary deal. Let me enter this interview real quick. The time is 10:50. I'm ending the interview with David Brown.